Good morning. Welcome to the 10:30 a.m. Wednesday, August 26th meeting. I call this meeting to order. First up is Christopher Signolfi, appointment to the Tulsa Stadium Trust, replacing Karen Lawhorn. Trustee number 6, term expires September 2nd, 2031. Come on up. You can grab any seat. You can sit next to Karen if you dare.
You dare.
You dare.
Whoa.
Yep. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, any
Sure.
background that you want us to know, and then why you're interested in serving on the Tulsa Stadium Trust as well.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. Well, my name's Chris Signolfi. I am a Tulsa resident as of 5 years ago. We moved here in August of 2021, originally from Maine. And we moved here from New York City. COVID and kids changed that place dramatically for us. I was a research analyst covering energy companies. I'd been to Tulsa a number of times. I had coverage responsibility for Williams and One Gas and Magellan. So I was familiar with Tulsa. My wife was not. That took some convincing, but we're very happy here 5 years in. One of my goals 3 years ago, personally and at work, was to become more civically engaged. So I was the vice chair of the United Way campaign the last 2 years. I joined the advisory council for the zoo. We were very active zoo patrons for the first several years we were here. Our kids adored it. I think I went 80 times in the first 3 years.
That's awesome.
Been there.
And so Karen Lawhorn, who was my predecessor CFO at One Gas, had reached out. She was looking to be replaced on the Stadium Trust Board. We've been to the field a number of times. Our children really enjoy the FC Tulsa and Tulsa Drillers going on Saturday for the Rhode Island game. But I was unaware that the trust existed, so Karen walked me through the responsibilities of that organization and stewardship of that facility. And so that's why I'm here today.
Great. We appreciate the expertise you're going to bring to that board. It's obviously has a whole bunch of people who have served extensive backgrounds for each of them, and we're grateful that the Stadium Trust is in place, caring for those assets for our city as well. Guys have any questions? Anyone?
I just
Okay.
appreciate you stepping up to take on this responsibility, so thank you.
Sure.
Echoing and appreciating the analytics that you'll be bringing to the table.
Okay, so we'll take this up at our September 2nd council meeting. You can attend if you want to, but you'll need to.
Okay.
So, and then if you're not there, then watch on TV, see how it goes, but I'm sure. Okay, thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you later.
Yeah.
Item 3, James Turner, reappointment to the Tulsa Preservation Commission. Term expires October 1st, 2027. Attended 8 of 12 meetings. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Same thing. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and how
Okay.
things are going on the Tulsa Preservation Commission since you've been serving.
I have. I have been serving for a long time. My name's Jim Turner. I'm a licensed architect in the lower 48 states. I'm a principal with Synergy here in town. Synergy is one of the largest architecture and engineering firms in Oklahoma. That's my one-sentence plug for them. And I have been on the Preservation Commission for 25 years plus. I think this is my 6th mayor that I've been appointed by. And I enjoy the mission of the Tulsa Preservation Commission. It has come a long, long way in those 25 years. So done a lot to protect our historic assets around downtown and the neighborhoods that have the overlay zoning. And the reason I was appointed originally was I built a new house in the preservation zoning, and I think I am still the only Preservation Commission member that has that honor. So,
That's awesome.
Good, good. Well, thank you. Everything going well on the Preservation Commission?
Yeah.
As you've been serving?
yeah,
Okay.
we've had some staff changeover, but I think we're in a good spot.
Good. Yes?
I was just curious, thinking through preservation, which so many different neighborhoods are often kind of trying to decide if that's a kind of, what kind of level of designation they're seeking, what would make sense for them, and then how to balance that with our kind of like housing needs. I was just curious how you approach that or think about that, where it's like, how do we, protect and maintain the character and things that we have, and then, you know, we're also always seeking out, you know, new as well, and I think that just seems like such a delicate balance, so I was just curious, given your expertise for your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult to get the majority of homeowners to go for the overlay zoning, the full overlay zoning. So we have 5 neighborhoods that have the full overlay zoning, and we have several other neighborhoods that have expressed an interest in basically what we call overlay light, which
Yeah, the
is
character ones.
covenants
Yeah.
essentially for the neighborhood that would be regulated by the neighborhood association rather than by the Preservation Commission. I think don't speak for the commission, but I think our basic feeling is that full overlay zoning is the best protection for the neighborhoods.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Other questions?
I have a quick question. Who was the first mayor, I mean, that put you on the,
Susan Savage.
okay,
Good grief. I haven't been on there a
Gosh,
while.
yeah.
that was in the last century.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, weren't
You
ele-
have, you have me
were
and
elected
Phil.
in the
I
last
was not
century.
elected in the
We've
last
served with
century.
3 different mayors, and so you've doubled our,
Millennials are just.
Yeah.
our record, so appreciate it.
Luckily, I bring a little bit of history to the
You
commission.
sure do.
can
I appreciate that.
Tell them what we've
We
been
want to
through.
preserve
Yeah.
you.
Right.
Preserve you.
Your longitudinal.
You bring
That's
some
right.
preservation to
I'm
that.
preserved, yeah.
I was gonna say that, but I'm glad I didn't.
It sounds like something you would say that. Okay, same thing. Council takes us up on September the 2nd, so you've been through that before.
Yep.
Come if you want, but you don't need to. So
Okay.
thank you again for your service to our city and to the
Yes.
Preservation
You bet.
Commission.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Yep, you bet. Item 4, ordinance appropriating some money to the Historical Society from the general fund for historic preservation. This all has to do with the local historic preservation grant funds. Good morning. How you been?
Morning, councillors. Yeah, this is just, it's a grant we typically get annually. It's a pass-through federal grant from the State Historic Preservation. So just over 35,000 in grant funds and a $23,000 in-kind match. So, it's ultimately going to enforcing local historic preservation ordinance, public participation in local historic preservation programming, and a phase 2 study of Harvard Hills. Any questions?
Anyone? Okay, appreciate your time. That was easy. 5, an ordinance relating to TMUA sewer operating fund dollars in the amount of about $3 million or so. Good morning. How you
Jared
doing?
from Budget. So this one is what we traditionally, at least in our office, call the start of the year budget action. It's the general fund and the water operating fund. Because we're a very large organization and we're a municipal organization, it's kind of clumsy how we roll from one fiscal year to the next fiscal year, so we have to close the purchasing system at a specific date, which makes it difficult on departments because they have to do business every day. So there's a stop date on encumbering new funds and then a start date on encumbering new funds. This is the money that fell in between those 2 dates. And so essentially this is FY26 money that we had to guess whether or not it would get through the encumbrance process before June 30th or not. There was $65,000 in the general fund for the police department for some e-citation software that they were in the process of getting under a purchase order. There was $3.6 million in the sewer operating fund for capital equipment for the water and sewer department. It was just mid-process. This picks it up where it left and is now under contract. And then likewise, since it's an estimation at the end, there was $580,000 in the sewer operating fund for service camera line trucks for the water and sewer department. They were able to get those under contract before the year ended, so we're just reducing those appropriations by that amount. The same for a lift station pump equipment for water and sewer. There was $27,000 on a change order that they were doing. It was able to be completed, so we're reducing this year's appropriations by that amount. And there was a commercial washer and dryer for the fire department that they were able to get purchased before the year ended, so we're reducing that reappropriation by the 20,000. So this just trues up the FY '27 appropriations to accommodate for those mid-year changes.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? All right, I know you're here for item 6 as well, ordinance amending the 27 budget. And this is all related to MTTA and planning and neighborhood departments in the amount of about $23,000.
And this is essentially just cleaning up projects and accounts. There's this 3,600 that was under the MTTA department budget category, and then some money in the strategic mobility plan. We're moving both of those into the corridor and small area plan project under planning and neighborhoods. And the project was completed, that strategic mobility plan, and so this residual money will go into the small area plans budget for them to continue that work.
Questions?
Sorry, what small area plan?
Corridor and small area plan project, it was in the original Improve Our Tulsa 1 project, and I believe, Paulina, sorry. If there are questions as to what that project entails, we do have an expert here.
Just curious.
Yes, so that string, corridor and small area plan is what we call the plan implementation funds. So it's money that goes towards small area plan and other planning initiatives. So it's all of them, planning initiatives
Okay.
and small area plans.
Okay. So there's, I'm sorry, maybe.
Oh, yeah, sure, you're good.
So you'll basically get the 23,000, and maybe you'll look to see which project in which small area plan would be best served by this money, or?
Yes, that's money that we have available in planning and neighborhoods to implement initiatives or recommendations included in the small area plans that are active,
Yeah.
or other planning initiatives that we have ongoing.
I'd be interested to know what, if there was a small area plan in my neighborhood where this money could be implemented. Maybe I'll get with you afterwards and let's talk about it.
Sure, I think the idea is that we're using this money for instance, right now we have the IoT3 funds for neighborhood revitalization. So these are funds that we can use in addition to that. But yes, that's
Because
basically.
some of those are not active, like West Highlands or Red Fork. But then some of them are active, is what you're saying.
Well, Red Fork, for instance, is getting neighborhood revitalization
Right.
funds from IoT3.
Mhm, 2.5
Yeah,
million.
and West Highlands, I believe it is an
The
active
one-
plan,
Okay.
exactly.
All right, well, we'll talk about it.
Sure.
That's great.
You guys probably could use some more money.
That sounded sincere.
That's wonderful. All right, that's it for me.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Okay, 7, ordinance amending the 27 budget to transfer funds of about $1.4 million between projects related to TMUA and $52,000 related to TMUA sewer, the former one, water.
This is again another cleanup action, just because of the way the state statutes and city charter work, but the projects that are moving money out of are all complete, and the projects receiving money need to be completed, have overages or new problems they've encountered. But this is just moving it from completed projects into ongoing projects to continue work going on in the water and sewer funds.
Okay? Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Item 8, discussion and update with the City Council Small Budget Committee and the Director of Finance or her designee on the city's fiscal year 26 budget report. This committee is Gilbert Bingle, Dr. Wright, and myself. So you guys want to start out?
It's just the same as the slides. Yes, sir. As you had mentioned, this is just the June close report for FY '26. This is the report that's given to the small council budget group every month. This is the last month of the fiscal year, and we're just going to go over some of the highlights from that year. We tried to condense it down into the important parts. But this is the period July 1 to June 30 of FY '26. It focuses primarily on the general fund, and then a couple other major funds are mentioned in the report itself, but we're not going to focus so much on that in this presentation. The big news on it is the general fund closed within plan, as we do every year because it's required. The revenue came in about 2.7% over what the original estimates were. We had $417.8 million of revenue. Expenditures were $411.8 million. Those were explicitly attributed to FY '26. There was $12.6 million of contracts and POs that rolled over into FY '27. It kind of bleeds into that first budget action that I presented. And then we had $15.3 million of appropriation balance, which is, a spending authority within the general fund. So overall expenditures encumbrances were $424.5 million. It was about 96.5 of all the approved funds were spent or obligated in the general fund for FY '26. So revenues overperformed, obligations came in under the original plan. Next slide. So there's three big questions that people ask when they look at the general fund. They're all equally true and accurate. They don't necessarily equal A plus B equals C, though. So revenues overperformed our estimates by $10.9 million in the general fund. It was primarily sales tax and interest earnings. On spending authority, the amount of appropriations that got spent, 96.5 were spent or obligated, which leaves 3.5. And then the cash position of the general fund, by the time the books closed June 30, FY '26 put $4.8 million back into the unassigned fund balance of the general fund at the end of the year. So that was definitely a good ending to the year. FY '25, I believe we did $2.1 million to the good. But
What'd you say, what was that last part? I know the 2.1 million, but I didn't pick up.
FY '25,
it was
cash
2.1.
increased $2.1 million once all the
Okay.
books were closed.
Gotcha.
But like I kind of mentioned on the slide, it's not necessarily the same thing as, because the next slide, or two slides later, we'll talk about how there was $15 million in available balance, and you'll notice we only increased the general fund $4.8 million. It's just the different way that accounts are categorized. But the next slide, focusing on the revenue, we had an estimate of $406.9 million. We came in at $417.8, net increase of $10.9 million. These aren't all the lines, but the significant ones. Interest earnings beat our estimate by $6.8 million. Sales tax beat by $6 million. Use tax and franchise both underperformed. That was a first for use tax, but in combination of use and sales, they both came in over. So that's the largest revenue line in the general fund. Interest earnings continue to occupy a high proportion of the revenue, but ideally, we would like to not depend on that necessarily.
Can you say that the last 20 seconds again?
You can, just rewind, like, not 21. so-
21.
I'm sorry,
There on
just,
the-
20.
yeah, I was
Just. Interest earnings performed very well, and that's a great thing. We don't want to depend on it because rates can change, our overall cash pool can decrease. There's a lot of contributing factors that are all reasonable that may make it less advantageous to our interest portfolio, investment portfolio. And so we shouldn't count on having $6 to $7 million of overage in interest earnings every year.
Thank you.
Next slide.
Can I ask you one quick question on
Yes,
this
sir.
slide as well? So use tax was $7.7 million down against budget, what was it against last year's numbers,
Last
do you know?
year's, it was over against last year.
I just don't have that.
I think it was 1.4 million over last year.
Okay. So
So
it
it's-
still
it's-
came in more than we had experienced the previous year.
Yeah. So just because you missed an estimate doesn't necessarily mean that it was performing badly. The margin was very close and it still overperformed the previous year. No, again, good news.
What was the use tax estimate?
The use tax.
Yes. Don't have
So
the
on
estimate
page
in.
3, it was 1.4 over last year.
Do we have that other, I don't know what got passed around, I only have this.
Yeah.
I do have that.
Is that all?
It's on the screen. Are you looking for the report?
Yeah, because they're referring to the report, they're referring to the
I
budget
forgot
report.
that.
I mean, it's okay.
It is up here, I can get it. It's just not up there currently.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This one. No, no, not this one.
I do have this. It's helpful in me.
It's page 3.
And this is the actual report that gets discussed each month with the small group.
That's all red.
That's sales tax, here's use tax. But that, nope, that was it.
I know the
Oh,
screen's
sorry.
bad.
Just gonna see it in portions.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes, it was 1.4 million bucks over last year's, but $689,000 less than budget.
And traditionally, ever since we kind of got plugged into the streamlined sales tax agreement, use tax has been a little unpredictable to project each year. If you looked at the last couple previous years, I think it's overperformed our estimate by 6 and 7% each year. So this was really just trying to come up with a very accurate estimate, and so we overshot it just a little bit. But overall, it overperformed the previous year and was very close to the estimate.
And would you say the reason for it was?
It's just a very volatile number.
It's not as
We don't-
consistent.
no, we
It's
can
not
budget.
consistent, like,
There's not like one factor when we look at the detail we receive from the tax commission that would really attribute to it. But, and there just is inconsistency because of the type of revenue it is. If there's large construction projects, it can go up, and so you just don't know the details behind that. And so you can't predict it as well as we can predict sales tax. We tried to be a little more, because we had, in the past, had those larger gaps where we've under-projected. We tried to project a little bit higher, and so we missed it just a little bit. Yeah. But it is, like Counselor's pointing out, it is still an increase year over year, and so it's positive. We just.
missed
probably
estimate
missed
by
it.
1%.
Mhm.
And it's still 64 million bucks that we wouldn't have gotten if the state of Oklahoma hadn't passed
Use tax?
our opportunity to collect the use tax, when in 2018-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big, big number.
Yeah.
Ever since then, it's come in higher and kind of
Yeah.
harder to predict.
I paid mine when it wasn't for
What's that?
I said I paid mine when it wasn't for
Oh, that's good.
because it was up there.
Yeah.
I learned that.
So here's the expense side. These were the appropriations or spending authority that was approved in the '26 budget by council. Once everything was done, general fund had 15.3 million unspent, unobligated at the end of the year. That's about 3.5% of the entire budget. The biggest chunk of it, as you can see on that little line chart there, is personal services. And I would say the majority of that was essentially vacancies took up a whole lot of it. The yellow bar you can see is other services. Those were contract services, et cetera, that ended up, for timing reasons or just they didn't end up costing as much, left about 3.9 million unspent. But that's the account level breakdown of how that remaining available balance ended for the year. The 5 largest balances are listed there. Each one of them have specific reasons for why those balances exist. It's not necessarily, I don't know, it's, vacancies is the big reason for all of it. So I can go to the next, or? This is just a mention, and this is some of why the balance was in at least police and fire. If you remember, in June, we did do a end-of-year budget action of $9.4 million to cover the compensation increases that were not in the original budget. And so there was a couple departments that we had to request additional funds for so that they would not end the year negative. And so we increased the general fund $9.4 million. And since we don't have a crystal ball, there was a little bit of, it was a little high for police and fire, so that contributes to some of why they had remaining dollars at the end of the year. Go to the next slide. And this is kind of just a touch on the other funds that are mentioned in the report that we just handed out. It's primarily the enterprise funds and a couple special revenue funds, but every one of them beat the original estimates. Nobody ended negative, so it was a good year all around. There's a mentionable on that chart there. Again, so the yellow bar indicates how much they beat the original estimate by. The blue bar is of that, how much was interest earnings. You can see it pretty much appears on all of them, and especially the sewer fund, quite a bit of it was interest earnings, but as far as like a fund portfolio, interest earnings continues to really help all the funds. I think that is where we pause for questions.
Who has questions? Anyone?
I'm trying to figure out on page 5 where it shows the differentiation here. So the TMUA water operating actually ended up with 0.3% above. On page 5 of the,
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
I was like, I don't see TMUA on there.
yeah, sorry. Well, I was looking through June of 2026 here. So page 5, the
Yes.
TMUA water operating fund, it was in the red initially.
If it was in the, okay, so that top line where it shows it was in the red, 869,000. That was just for the month.
Okay.
The month, we have a monthly estimate for every one of the 12 months. It came in under 869,000, but the right below it, that is how all 12 months combined, they beat their revenue estimate by 463,000 to the good.
Right, the 0.3%.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
And the same with the sewer operating.
Yes, overall, it was 2%.
Team UA can have some fluctuations of the revenue based on whether it's a dry season or rainy season, and so it can cause some changes there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that did factor heavily
We
into
had
theirs.
a lot of rain.
Yeah, it was a very
Yeah.
cool, wet year.
Yeah.
And then Sarah started watering her lawn.
Again.
Carrying the team.
Oh, you just, for the benefit of the city. Yeah. That's how
Eric
much
Lee
he
would be
cares.
proud.
Everybody else would just care as much. Counselor Dr. Wright?
Thank you. Also on slide 5, can we go back to that?
Slide 5?
Slide
or
5.
Page 5.
Whatever this is.
Slide.
Slide 5.
The one we just had oh. There we go. So can you help clarify these 4 departments account for 10 million? But we have 5 departments listed. So is it the top 4 or how are we squaring that statement?
These 5 are the 5 largest.
Okay, and then the call
Oh,
out next
no,
to
that's
them?
just a, thank you, that's just a typo, should say 5.
It should say.
Okay, so this column to the left is justifying that statement, but it's really 5.
Correct.
Okay. And that's reflected in the bar graph at the top of that as well?
Correct, yep.
Okay. So on the personnel services, can we, can we talk a little bit about payroll timing, interdepartment service levels, realignment of staffing? I guess let's focus in on Public Works and Police, since that's more than
Public
half.
Works is a very easy explanation. There was a service level change on the way they allocate their expenses that happened after the budget, that was really after proposed. It was too late to incorporate into the adopted budget. And essentially, they have a branch of the department that does majority stormwater service work. And they had to realign some priorities to, they do exclusively stormwater work. And so making that shift from mostly to all, when it's mostly, we appropriate all of their personnel budget in the general fund, and it goes through the direct allocation process, whereas they charge down the enterprise funds, give us revenue to offset those expenses. Since their service level moved to exclusively stormwater, they charged 100% of their expenses to the stormwater fund. And so that meant that there was like $3 million of appropriations in the general fund that never had expenses against them, because the expenses were going to where they belonged in the stormwater fund, where there was actually receiving the benefit
Right.
of those services.
So does that mean that 3 million from the general fund is now available for reappropriation within the Public Works line?
No, well, it's a lapsing fund, so as soon as we rolled over to July 1, those appropriations go away. And so that kind of goes back to a couple slides ago, that just because a department has fund balance at the end of the year does not necessitate that there's cash behind that necessarily. Since
Okay.
those were allocated appropriations,
But not actually transferred?
they were not transferred,
Okay.
no revenue came from the enterprise funds to offset those.
Okay.
So they're basically like empty appropriations.
Right, because we found a different source. Okay, what about the police line?
Police line, it was primarily personnel, and I would say it was a timing and trying to project the FY '26 compensation
Contract.
agreements that we had with FOP. I think we just overestimated a little bit, and then there was also the timing going into July 1. We had 2 payrolls that happened in FY '27 on a literal basis that got charged back because the days worked were in FY '26. But the way those two landed, not as much expenses ended up hitting FY '26 as the net projection of our expenses. And so there was just, what we appropriated in June was just a little too much.
Where did we end up on the overtime projections versus actuals? I know we did well on fire, I think.
Fire came in under budget on overtime.
What about
About
police?
1.9
Yeah.
over.
We were 1.9 over on police? And that's over what we had anticipated for overtime?
Correct, in the original budget.
Okay, and then on fire, we came in under what projected overtime?
300,000.
0.15 million, so 150,000.
On fire? Fire came under 150K of projected, because they did a new, remind me what they
Process.
did. They did a new process this year to manage their overtime?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then did we have that same process requested of police, or was it a different process? For overtime
I don't think
management?
they quite work the same.
Okay.
But that,
I just know we've been very focused in on this overtime conversation every year, so maybe we need an update on a go-forward basis. Obviously, fire found a formula that's working for them, or allegedly is working for them. We might double check. I know we have academies this year in the budget. And maybe there was some sort of special event, or, I don't know, sometimes we have extra calls for service around weather stuff, or, so, I don't know, are we on a quarterly basis, Chairman, on reports on overtime? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's what police told us and was communicated with us. There were extraordinary events where they were needed for various events where overtime was collected, and then they're still working on that one project.
Okay.
Just to get the CRM system set up. It's not
Right.
CRM, but.
10 years
Revenue
later.
management on this.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
they're coming to our next small budget.
Okay, so we can ask about that. In the public works line, does that also include code enforcement?
No, they would be in planning neighborhoods.
Planning and neighborhoods, I can't remember who moved where when we did that reset, okay. Planning and neighborhoods, which didn't even make the top 5.
Nope.
I'd like to flag that for my colleagues as we start talking about priorities for the next fiscal budget. I don't know about y'all, but I'm getting
Yep.
lots of complaints.
Always.
I mean, yes, and more so than I've ever experienced in 8 years of service.
Just,
Yeah.
just the backlog.
The backlog is.
I don't know what it is, but we can't keep saying there's a backlog. We have to show them how we're gonna fix it, and I think we talked about how we're gonna fix it, but again,
Feels like it's better
We added more
than it
staff.
was.
well, but we've also lost positions over the summer.
Yeah.
Like, there's been some churn.
Oh, has it?
Well, yeah, who
When
wants to
you
work in
report on
100-degree heat?
So in that.
I think that goes back to
You know that when you accept the
work
job.
condition, temperatures.
Yeah,
Things
I
we
mean, I just think
discussed.
we need to look at it.
Yeah.
Because I know we made some adjustments on this fiscal year budget.
I think it might be hard to see the impacts of the changes that were made in the fiscal year 27 budget, since they haven't probably had enough
Sure.
time to make those hiring and changes.
Right?
We
Yeah.
added, what,
We added 3 inspectors and 1 administrator.
And they didn't fulfill a couple of positions that had left. So
Right, I just think we
there's-
need to look
yeah,
at it, and
sounds like a-
I don't know on the, we're looking at
Pay
top
scale,
5 here, I
that's
don't know
our
where planning and neighborhoods falls into the grand spectrum of investment, but, yeah. I know I'm hearing a lot about it right now.
Yeah, just
I am too.
much smaller personnel base
Yeah.
than all
Yeah.
the others.
Maybe we should leave this
Yeah,
That
so
we
it's hard
might need
to-
look at growing.
Yeah, council office should never be on this list either.
No.
Just because we don't have enough personnel. Yet,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
the empire is being built.
1 code inspector per district.
Or like the region. Well, it's also somebody to actually do the abatement part of stuff.
Yeah, okay.
There's a-
Those are contractors.
Right, that's what
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, I feel like, I don't know if that's like, I don't know if it's that, like, obviously there's
I don't know what's
staff,
causing the
like capacity
backlog.
things, but yeah, what if, we don't know, I think that's why we probably need to, I'm just naming, I guess we need to put this back on an agenda, because we also don't know, maybe it's like, when it comes to the abatement side of things, like, what does the contractor workforce look like? We don't know, there could be other gaps.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good to stay very much in tune with it. On the, yeah.
Tag on to this over here. So, I'm also thinking too with code enforcement that it's also kind of a public safety thing. And I'm just wondering how we might be able to utilize some of these public safety funds, because if you're living next to somebody that has a hoarding issue, you're dealing with vermin and rats and.
Nice.
Yes, and there's also feral animals that might take over the premises. So I'm just wondering if, because I'm looking at, on page 5 again of the balance, and it looks like there was a 3.9% increase in public safety sales tax in that fund.
Yeah, that public safety fund is specifically used for police and
Right.
fire.
Right,
And
no, I get
911.
that, yeah, which are all good, but I'm still wondering about how we can utilize some of these funds from that account for planning in neighborhoods.
I don't
It's,
think
it's,
she's saying
it's,
restricted.
it's restricted,
Is
it's
it?
in a
Okay.
lockbox specifically for those purposes.
Did you set that up? Yeah, see, she built it, so it's like, it's
Okay.
fully, she's like the
Okay.
expert on it.
She is literally the expert.
Just for
Yeah,
you.
just the way the
me.
dollars,
Yeah.
the whole fund was created is completely structured
Yeah.
around,
Specific safety
yes,
issues.
yeah.
And not to supplant
The
general
plan,
fund.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
Well,
for
that
doing
was
this.
a good fishing expedition.
Just trying to keep Tolson safe.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So the extra money, if you'll go back one slide, where we're well, I don't know, go the other way then. Where extra money was collected on these things, stormwater, sewer, water, especially TARE, what's the process of rolling that into possible cost adjustments for residents in this upcoming budget year? I know it's probably not cash, it's sitting over in an account,
Right.
but revenue came in that exceeded projections. So we have more more than we asked for, so maybe we don't have to raise rates or raise rates at all in the coming years. Those are just things that the various departments
Yeah, I couldn't speak to that.
recognize and
at
then
the
add
moment.
into their budget? How does it work?
They do consider their fund balance when they're doing their needs analysis to set rates in the future. So it'll be a part of their consideration.
Okay.
But do know that like, that represents like one-time money as far as like what their fund balance is. But if we think that we set the rate a little high, you know, you'd be considering that.
Yeah,
like
but
where
with-
stormwater significantly overperform, they'll look at the model and see if there are some changes that factored into that need to be factored into the next year to correct it a little bit.
So with that extra money, though, they can be doing a wide variety of things with it. They can be paying down debt, they can be, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But it gets reviewed annually, and the rate should be adjusted accordingly to, as the ending balance changes each new year.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you all very much. Okay, next up is a presentation and updates by the Tulsa Regional Chamber. Come on up, find an empty seat.
Not very many empty
Yes.
seats.
Oh, thank you.
How are you?
Good morning, council. Thank you for having us.
I'm just delivering paper products. We can get you another seat.
Yeah. Well, I just want to start off and just thank you for the council's partnership on economic development and tourism, and we just really cannot appreciate you enough for everything you do to engage with us and helping us with all those important things for the city of Tulsa. Also, congratulations to all the counselors who won or advanced last night. That's a big deal, and we recognize that. Overall, I think we feel really good about the progress that we've been making in the areas of economic development and tourism, on the government affairs side. A lot of great activity. You'll get to hear a report on that. And our goal is that we always stay globally competitive in all those areas. And so that's what we keep top of mind as we're going about our days. So I'd like to start off first with Kim Wilmus, who's our SVP of Economic Development, and talk a little bit about project activity and some of the things that they're seeing coming in the door. Kim?
Yep, thanks, Justin. Again, just as Justin I would like to reiterate, just thank you for your partnership and support. We could not do literally anything that we're doing right now without your help, so thank you very much. Last time we came here and presented, we talked about the momentum that we were seeing in aerospace and space, and I'm happy to report that that momentum continues to happen. We've had some really great conversations and recognition of where aerospace and space is going, but what we're seeing now also is aerospace, advanced air mobility, drones and space technologies. They can grow here, those innovations can happen here in Tulsa. But what's also great is that we're hearing about those on a national and international scale also. I mentioned DCI, our PR firm that we've been working with. They're working to increase that visibility with aerospace publications. We're meeting with companies in LA, space companies I mentioned that we are meeting often. We're coming back from industry shows like MRO Americas and the Space Symposium. And those are all possible because of your consistent support and investment. Just past summer, I was at the Farnborough International Air Show. We partnered with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce. We sponsored the booth there. We had meetings with 31 companies from around the world. And what really struck me is a lot of those conversations we heard, they always started off with, okay, what's going on in Tulsa? We keep hearing about Tulsa. So it's working. Again, it's people are noticing the announcements that we're making, the marketing that we're doing, the PR that we're getting. And these relationships that we've been building over time and meeting with at these events have been extremely helpful. So we're excited to see that existing continued company activity. You may have heard and saw that Manna Air Delivery is now beginning delivery operations. They're going to start manufacturing here. Park Aerospace also announced they'll be at the Tulsa International Airport, Advanced Composites Manufacturing. And so there'll be another added supplier in our aerospace ecosystem. And so that, again, these are all just great aerospace activity that we're seeing. Another thing that we're working on is talent attraction. So one thing that we always hear consistently from our employers is that it's difficult because they have to do almost a two-part sales job. They've got to try to recruit folks to work at their company, but then they also have to try to sell Tulsa, especially to their spouses, right? So those companies don't have the time to keep up with what's going on. So we are working on what we're calling a Talent Resource Hub website. That is a resource for our local employers to use, where we'll have up-to-date information about what's hot, what are some articles that folks are seeing, so they can send those to those high-end individuals that they're trying to recruit to Tulsa. And so right now, we're in the process of getting input from our local employers. We've started to build it out. Our hope is to launch that in November, but we're working with employers to get that input. We're also working to connect those employers with with our workforce development partners and our education partners already here, trying to ensure that they offer work-based learning opportunities. So whether that's internships or job shadowing or talking with individuals and having tours, we want to make sure that employers are connected with them and offering those opportunities. We're meeting with our superintendents and our university presidents, again, to look for ways to make sure that the employers are providing opportunities that make sense for the students. They know their body of folks the best, but making sure that whatever is offered by companies, they are going to provide some long-term benefits to the students. And then on the marketing side, we do have talent attraction ads that we are running. Right now, we've had 9.8 million impressions that have generated 8,900 folks who are looking at Tulsa information. There's 5,500 engagements, which means folks are clicking through and wanting to learn more about what's happening here in Tulsa. And on the business attraction side, similar, 5.6 million impressions, 116,000 visits to the site. Again, folks are really looking at, individuals as well as companies are looking and wanting to learn more about what's happening here in Tulsa. So right now, we have 154 projects in the pipeline, a lot of diverse industries, which is always great for the economy. So aerospace and space, again, continue with manufacturing, energy, health tech, materials, IT and tech, construction, biotech, food processing. It's a wide gamut, so great diversity of the type of projects. So lastly, I'll just close with a lot of this isn't just one announcement, it's not just one project or one marketing trip. It really is consistent foundational work that we're able to do, and again, we couldn't do that without your help. So thank you. But I'll pause there for questions. Yes, sir.
Sure. Archie?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the presentation. As you were speaking about, maybe I missed a little bit of it, setting up a website or a portal that maybe businesses that are looking to relocate can send their employees to, that can look at, and it'll tell them about what's happening in
Yes.
Tulsa?
Yes.
Okay, maybe just.
Talk a little bit
Yeah,
more about
just
that?
review that a little
Yeah,
bit.
so right now, there's, so it is a website that we want employers to send, whoever they're trying to recruit, to come and take a look at the website, or we'll have like a toolkit of materials. But it'll have things like a cost of living calculator. How do we get those folks to compare the cost between Tulsa and other cities that they're potentially moving from? It'll be information about healthcare, our education system, really trying to combat those things where maybe we aren't the greatest in K through 12, but we have so many other things that we want to make sure employers are able to highlight as they are pointing out to. So there'll be like a sales guide of, these are some tips that you should be talking about, and here's some messages that you can share, but there's also materials or one-pagers that they can send off to those potential prospects that you're trying to get here for maybe that high-end job that they're trying to recruit them for.
Oh, that's good. I think our elections in education last night was encouraging. But the gentleman who was on the Stadium Trust in number 2, Christopher, in his interview, he said he was looking at Tulsa, but he had to convince his wife
Yes.
to come. And so it's not just the individual who's working, but you have to speak to families.
Right.
And so, I mean, my wife is a principal at a high school, and she says she goes on the moms groups, and they talk about, quality of education, some of these issues. So, I mean, just look at it, not just through the business lens, but you're having those resources for families on that website as well, to where it'll work for them.
Yes.
I might mention too, we've been running now for several years our national PR campaign with DCI. And I think the importance of that is, so there is a national image of Tulsa. So when companies are looking to relocate here, they're thinking about Tulsa. When tourists are looking to come here, they're thinking about Tulsa. But I think also most importantly too, is we want individuals, when there's a job that's open in Tulsa, we want them to also think about Tulsa and move here to help our companies and workforce. So
Yeah.
that, it's really, that's part of the importance of this PR campaign, to make sure that we have a great image out there. We've got a lot to sell, and we want to continue to sell that nationally.
And I think it's good to have like a one-stop, I mean, people will look in many
Yeah.
different places, but to have one place to kind of do all that.
Yeah.
Like,
And just to add a data layer to that, actually, Counselor Archie, I was just looking the other day at, I liked this terminology, like workforce labor data observatory, where it was like a compendium of what AI can scrape related to job postings. And they're also able to scrape for and track trends about like what job postings offer, what kind of health benefits, parental leave benefits, childcare benefits. And so now there's also ways where all of that could be integrated into some of those same types of platforms to show, here's what's available in our community, here's what kind of benefits these different opportunities offer, and help people connect, like per what you raised, those other dots as well, to help them think through what would work for their whole family. So I think there's like, some really cool things happening through some of those like kind of AI APIs where they can go and really pull compelling things from all sorts of job posting platforms.
Call it a compendium.
Yeah.
Compendium.
That's great,
Thank you, Counselor.
All right, any other questions for Kim? Counselor?
Waiting on our chairman.
Waiting on our chair.
What do you have a question?
Yeah, you can hold on. Great. Are you running this meeting?
Rock on.
Sorry.
Yes. Trying to get rid of a phishing email.
So,
Multitasking.
obviously, we're an innovation and a hub for a lot of innovation for entrepreneurs starting businesses. One I was interested in recently is Mana, right? How are they being received, especially by your community?
Mixed.
Mixed?
I think it's still so new, that it's hard for people to really know what it looks like as far as both value add or otherwise, or how disruptive it is or isn't. I think until it like potentially scales more, has more sites, it'll be harder to know what that looks like for nearby neighbors, or just like the actual, like, again, like value out of the service conceptually. So just kind of, it's very much in a wait and see mode.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to community engagement needs though.
Yes.
Right? The more we can inform early and often and get questions asked and answered, the better it is for everyone.
Yep.
I think one piece that was lost in all of that excitement about something new and shiny, exciting, is 1,000 manufacturing jobs and a corporate base that's moved here. I just feel like that was not as shining in the whole announcement as things that people could look to as a positive impact. But I do think, there's always skepticism of early adoption of technology, and given some of the other conversation in our community right now, we need to be more out in front about what our policies are on data and filming and retention, and what cameras are capable of doing or not doing, all of that. So I think, industry gets hit by the community conversation, and we as community connectors can help facilitate some of that conversation and really knowledge share, hear the questions, reflect back. I think we could all do a better job of that.
And I think to speak to that, just as something, I think this was observable with different inquiries people have had about utility companies and cost and the affordability things, as you also are just seeing between that and conversations about like flock cameras. When we're looking at some of these different tech companies and solutions, you have such an immense level of community concern and kind of distrust. So I think there's a lot we could do both policy-wise to ensure there's like safeguards and guardrails. That's a preview of something I'll bring to you all later. But also like, how do we, like, we don't want to be unfriendly to these companies, and we want people to like, be able to really come into our community and both be like embraced if it's deserved, et cetera. And so I think we have to be really thoughtful about that, because we are seeing more and more community distrust of like, whether it's larger corporations, tech, newer technology, especially between AI and data centers. There's just so much in the mix that makes a lot of noise, including affecting companies that maybe have nothing to do with any of that. And I think we have to be really thoughtful about our approach with that. And I'm sure that must be interesting for you from a kind of that economic development perspective of like recruiting companies and knowing the community might have mixed perspectives or concerns, and how to kind of you know, I would be curious how we can more proactively like dispel any like myths or rumors or things that aren't, you know, people have really valid concerns, but they may not be true about a specific company. And it is, per your point, the proactive side, it can be hard if we're not equipped up front with like you know, enough information, and I think it's hard to stay ahead of that.
The other thing is, you know, a few years ago, we went on an intercity visit and learned that other cities that are thriving have 5 or 7 pillars of the economy, and
Right.
we need to diversify. I think we got excited about that notion. Of course, COVID hit, and we were all like, had a little blip. But going back to what Counselor Archie's talking about on the attraction and retention, you know, I'm somebody that chose Tulsa as a grown adult and had a lot of choice of where to go and chose here. In 2008, post-recession, the selling point was you could afford to live here, maybe not on 2 salaries. That time is gone, and I think there's still some people that haven't quite, and when I say people, leadership, who haven't quite, they're still selling that message of like, we're so affordable, we're low cost of living. We're really not that anymore. And of course, when high tech comes in, you're gonna see an acceleration. I come from the Silicon Valley, where we saw a largely agricultural part of the Bay Area rapidly change, and it became one of the largest economies in the world, but we could learn from that by not leaving people behind. And I think there's some intentionality there. We see that, you know, Tulsa Tech and all the way we're trying to reinvest in people, but I think we need to tell that story more and acknowledge it. You know, 50% of Tulsa's renting now. Homeownership does become more challenging, whereas maybe 10 or 20 years ago, that was the selling point. You could be a one-income family here. Childcare, we know, is really taking a hit. We also just know both spouses want to work. Both spouses are, if you're trying to attract and retain highly educated people, a lot of people are on a career path, and even if you step off that career path to focus on family, male or female or whatever, you know, people want that opportunity to come back in and not be locked out. Especially as our generation, Gen X and below, we're not of the generation where you're gonna have that long-term retirement plan because you stayed at 40 years at one company. That's just not the world we live in anymore. I think millennials and zennials and now Gen Alpha that's coming up, they see that. And so when they're thinking long-term, they want to live in a community that no matter what company they're working for, if they start their own company, they're going to have that high quality of life. And then, you know, just, there's a lot of stuff at the city that we don't directly impact, education, healthcare, but we can amplify what you all are trying to do, especially with the One Voice. And again, we're so close to our neighbors and constituents. I think it's our job too to also point them in the right direction. Like, it's one thing to be worried and upset about something, it's another thing to empower yourself and lean in. So if like education's your thing, like here's where you need to be advocating instead of just kind of raging at the machine. Same thing, the conversation that we've been having around utilities. There are some things we as a city can do, but there's some things upstream of us. I know last week I really were pointing people towards the Corporation Commission. Like, you have elected representation where you can make impact. So I know you all do a good job of engaging, and I think we can come alongside as well. I just think the more information people have, the more empowered they can feel and less overwhelmed. And right now, the way people are receiving information, overwhelming and frustrating and angering people, is what gets the attention. And so hopefully we as leaders and the corporate community can also say, yes, we acknowledge these pain points, and here's how we can empower ourselves, and here's where we can make impact. So I am looking for the legislative session around childcare. I feel like Susanna Schreiber is really making the case for why it is workforce and why it's an economic investment that needs to happen. And maybe we'll start to see the corporations also. I think sometimes when you guys come in, you talk to them about like, hey, would you have a place-based childcare opportunity for your employees that could also help? So, and I know we're having that conversation around town. So I think we acknowledge the anxiety and the real pain points. I feel like the Chamber's doing a great job now of really boosting the housing discussion, whereas a few years ago, you know, we weren't always like having that conversation in the same way. So, because when we want to attract and retain, it's going to be neighborhood conditions. It's going to be, can I get into home ownership and build that generational wealth for my family, especially if I'm leaving my roots behind to relocate or just shifting. And then the long time Tulsans too that don't want to be locked out of the market. So I would just say to you all too, if you see something that's at our table, like a zoning question, I know in the past we've talked about, you know, being co-located by these centers of growth, and you know, how can we move the housing conversation largely in districts 3 and 6. But if there's something that's coming to our table that you have partners that you know would be looking to that as well, let us know, because sometimes we're just real focused in on our lens, and it would be helpful to know, like, hey, if you guys can unlock this, here's
Yeah.
what we have coming down the lane. Also for the tourism side, of course, always.
Counselor Dunn?
Yeah, so I want to thank you, my colleagues, for bringing all of these issues up. Excuse me. With MANA, they will be producing all their parts and manufacturing here in Tulsa locally. And that would also expand to other cities. So I think the 1,000 jobs that it can create and the revenues, that it'll bring will work hand in hand with our aerospace industry, especially for District 3. And that I'm seeing now housing being developed in the area to keep and attract. I know there's the Colette subdivision that's being built right now in East Tulsa, and that's 227 homes. And so I'm excited that this is going to happen, because I think it's also going to draw attention to District 3, the East Corridor, District 6, and keep the money in Tulsa instead of going to Owasso or even further east, Inola area. So this is exciting, especially since the manufacturing is going to coordinate with aerospace, and that's going to be centered around the airport, so
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to tell you thank you.
All right, I'll now turn it over to Renee to give us an update on tourism.
Thank you. Well, again, I will echo everything we've said is thank you. You all have been so supportive, and we are very appreciative of you collaborating with us to help grow Tulsa. So just a couple of things I wanted to share. You have in your packet our quarterly report. We are on a fiscal year, so we just finished our annual meeting, and you're all invited September 15th to our annual meeting, our breakfast, so I hope you all can make it. But I'll give you a little preview of what to expect on that. Our goal was to book 175,000 room nights. We ended up booking 625 room nights. We had 407 leads to the 300. And then we had 334 million in total economic impact.
Where's
So-
that, where's that on this? Are you reading
Well,
this?
it's not there yet.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
giving you a preview.
Okay.
So what you have here is the quarter for quarter 4, and then our full annual, we're gathering all those numbers, but this is what you'll see on September 15th. So a really incredible year, and I cannot thank you all enough for helping us all exceed our goals on that. We have increased brand awareness. I know being the capital of Route 66 and the Centennial has really shown a huge international and national light. Capitol Cruise was a huge hit, and I really thank you all around the table, most especially Councilor Bingle, for your leadership on all of that. But we ended up obviously breaking the world record, 3,596 cars, 185 million in economic, we did a 26.5 million in advertising values. That is enormous numbers, and nationally and internationally, the attention that I've garnered has been huge. Thank you for your support for the guest tax, and excited about seeing that on the November 3rd ballot. That will really be a game changer for us, and really the development of that in a convention center, so we can have even more visitors and bring more economic impact. The lowdown, just a fun little snapshot there. I've just finished filming. It ended up with incredible numbers, and that was through our new film incentive that we're doing. We did over 3,000 room nights alone just for their cast and crew, and that will launch on October 14th for season 2. The Outsiders, if you're flying American, they have their own channel now on American Airlines, and it talks about Tulsa the entire time. I just had the opportunity to fly, and that was really cool to see that. So full channel, I'll send you the snapshot of that. Southern Living put us in. If you saw, that was a great article that dropped last week. And Savvy Tulsa has over 1,000 registered credentialed volunteers, and our goal was 700. We are at 1,000 and growing. So just some really big numbers, and this will show you everything you need to see here. But we're just really excited about what the future holds, and we're going into a very, very strong 26, 27.
Awesome.
Great.
Any questions?
All right. Any
Where
last?
did we
last-
run into all the stars? People always ask me like, what coffee shop do I need to hang out in to see? It's funny.
I know.
I
think
put
Tony-
that same pressure on it.
Star stalking
I
around
know.
town.
Oh, I never want to meet anyone. Never meet your heroes.
Oh.
Well, Ethan Hawke is our cheerleader, so
Yeah.
we love him. He's a good
All right.
ambassador.
When, is there a 50th anniversary for Outsiders next, when would it be? When did
So-
the movie come out?
83.
83? So
Mm-hmm.
we still have a ways.
But the book came out. Was it? Well, I
It
know.
was, book was, so she wrote it in 1967.
So that would be
Yeah.
2027.
So that's 59, I
you
know
go.
that for a reason. Far through.
The Outsiders is
60th
truly the
anniversary's
gift
coming
that
up.
keeps
Yeah,
on
60th.
There you
giving.
go.
Yeah, that'll be a
It'll
big
be in
year.
Oklahoma
We can
City.
all celebrate.
For both of you.
Yeah,
Chris, me, and the
let's
Outsiders.
do it.
I mean, let's have a
Remember, you
themed
are older
party.
than me.
Let's have a themed party. I want to see you guys like dress like
Oh, yeah.
Greasers.
greasers. So
We can,
What's like that you're
we can do
good
the
at
offsetting
thing?
thing.
you could be a sew, she'll be a greaser. That'd be amazing.
Pretending I'm a greaser, but I'm probably not.
That's just,
I'm
Probably
pretty sure you're
not.
I'm pretty sure.
I see a
Okay.
themed party.
All right.
All right, we
Last,
digress.
last, we got Katie Hinkey with SVP of Government Affairs. Katie?
Okay, so very quickly, just again, congratulations to everybody for advancing. We're very excited, but we also know that it takes a huge toll to be able to run campaigns, and we just appreciate your servant's heart and look forward to continued partnerships moving forward. A little bit about what happened last night, just so you all know, it was about a 21% voter turnout. So it was the lowest turnout for an Oklahoma gubernatorial election of any kind since 1962. And that's only just because that's what we have firm data for. But we are looking at still a very busy election season. I think things will calm down a little bit, but with Mike Macy moving forward, and we'll be facing House Minority Leader Cindy Munson in November. It's still going to be busy. But the biggest thing is, as Renee mentioned, the hotel guest tax, which will also be on the November 3rd ballot. And the government affairs team has selected a consultant, and we have started planning all of that. You guys will start seeing more in September, but we are going to be working on a comprehensive campaign to get the vote out there and help Tulsans understand that when visitors come, they spend money. That goes into all the things that make Tulsa great. So when they pay, we win. As far as what the government affairs team has been working in between everything else, the One Voice Task Force process has been underway. We have 7 task forces. We've had lots of great discussion already. I want you guys to be aware that the November 5th One Voice Legislative Summit is happening, and obviously want to make sure that you guys are going to participate there. But we're having great conversations. I think what we saw last session is that, a historically early budget agreement did not leave a lot of room for a lot of negotiations. And so I think a lot of things were left on the table, not because there wasn't political will, but just people needing to get back to their districts and campaign. So I think you'll see a lot of the same issues that were presented last session, again, this session. But we are looking forward to continuing our work on things like Counselor Dr. Wright mentioned, childcare being a huge push. Also, with some of these interim studies that you're seeing, we've outlined a few that I think that you guys would be interested in watching. But just some more industry-driven apprenticeship programs, how the state can get more involved there, the Tourism Promotional Fund, the TriShare program for childcare. And then a lot of things in regards to city funding, and then, of course, taxation. So I think that you'll see a lot of these things coming back, bubbling back up to the top. All of those interim studies, though, I think they can provide some good insight as to what we will see next session, and you can watch them all streamed online at the okhouse.gov and oksenate.gov websites. And then really, it's just anticipating what's next. You guys have any questions?
I have one question.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead and then I'll ask one.
I have a question. I thought Senator Gillespie and maybe Representative Lawson were working on a revenue conversation, diversification interim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not
There-
here,
No,
but-
this is, there are hundreds
Okay.
of studies. We just put a couple
Yeah.
on the.
Well, I'll flag that one for you
But
all,
yes.
that we do have former municipal elected officials at the State House that are, keep bringing it back, and we know
Yes.
the wheels turn slower there, and it might take 6 or 7 sessions to get that conversation really where it needs to go, but I just wanted to uplift as we prepare for our legislative session with them in the fall, that they are listening, and I've seen them flag those things. There are some other legislators that are talking again about tenant protections, and I think we need to stay on that as the second largest city in the state, but the first for eviction and housing challenges. Certainly, there's been a lot in the news this summer with one conglomerate that has really impacted the state across 36 properties. And so I think more people are starting to say, like, how do we prevent this from happening? So if you have been impacted by that in your district with your residents, I've had 3, I know some of you have had multiple, like, get with those legislators and get those stories to them, because it's hurting Oklahomans, and we just have to solve that problem, and maybe there'll be a little more political will, since unfortunately it was pretty catastrophic this summer. So, I'll get with OML too and see where there's cross, priorities. Cause I think that we could also use our voice in that way. But we do have a legislative, as you all know, in the fall. I'm guessing we'll be doing it again, or I can't remember if we moved it more to winter, but we can elevate some of this stuff as well.
Yeah, I'll just remind you guys, I know you know, but bill filing begins, early in November. And so just making sure that you're having those conversations, because to your point, I think it's really important when legislators hear those personal stories. I think when you make it personal and real, then they can start to understand if it's not something that they've personally
I felt
faced.
encouraged that the minority leader came to my community meeting around that housing thing. She did not have to, she came back from Oklahoma City. A lot of her constituents are in those properties as well, but it's important that they see that. So especially those of you who are having those housing challenges, like, we've got to partner with our state counterparts. We all have the same constituents. And then I am kind of watching what's happening down the turnpike, because it's the 2 urban core areas that are really being impacted. And I know sometimes the magic word is, in municipalities of 250,000 or more residents, this thing can happen or not happen. And so maybe we need to be a little more surgical and precise in how we're approaching it, but anything we can do to help amplify, because it's also a workforce issue, right? Like,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of people who relocate here, they get recommendations of, like, where to rent or live, and then, you could be caught in this nightmare of, like, the ownership changed, and all of this is unfolding as we're trying to make a new life in Tulsa. And I've definitely seen some of that, so, thank you.
Last thing I'll mention is.
Hang on, we have.
Oh, I can.
Oh, you got, I'm sorry.
Well, I have a question
No,
as well.
please, go ahead.
Is there any data relating to who is not voting, what group of people? By age, by any factor whatsoever?
So last night it was difficult because depending on your party affiliation, so.
Had more or less on the ballot too.
Right.
Show up.
Some people had 3 ballots, some people had 1. But, I historically, we do see over 50 crowd votes more consistently than anybody else.
Yeah.
But-
Are there just less of those people?
Baby
I
boomers are over
I mean,
50.
a primary
Yeah, I know, I don't
runoff
know.
is
I'm just trying to figure out
generally
what
the
happened in
lowest.
62 that,
Yeah.
and has happened since, that has caused the numbers to be so different.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Well, that's like, it's like the civil rights era
The civil-
happened, and then
yeah, I
everyone
was
had
gonna say.
backlash about who got to vote.
the civil rights era.
It's like,
Well, I
needless to
I
say,
don't know,
we've
I
got
don't
it
know all the
now.
numbers between those times. All I heard was the reference of
Yeah.
62
Yeah.
was
But
the
lowest
last time
historically.
numbers were so low.
yeah.
So something had to happen where it peaked and now we're back in a valley?
Well, we just voted to maybe make it harder to vote as a state. Just flagging like,
Voting
Yeah.
in 1965.
Yeah, but the other low point was 62.
well, that was
So-
just the last time to hit, the first time to hit data.
That's the most reliable data that we have. Before that, the data isn't.
Yeah.
So
It was low,
I
and
wouldn't
then
want to
went up.
speculate.
After 62, right?
And then it
Right,
went
right.
down,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
You
why.
probably should look at the people who
And now it's
register
back
that
down.
don't
And
vote. You know,
that's
there's
back
like
down.
these
Government.
demographics.
Well,
I think too,
Disengaged.
this year it was different where
no.
independents couldn't
Not
vote.
good.
Yes,
No,
that's
definitely not
another
good.
factor, independents
The independents
cannot
that-
vote in the
In primary.
In any
primaries
primary,
this
that was
year.
not good.
And there's a
So
large
that was
percentage of
different than-
independents.
Yeah, they got
Previous
handed
years.
less ballots.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
huge.
That's a really big.
Good news.
Because I think
That
it's
was a
at
big
40% are independents. So
Okay,
that's
and
a
then
big
Phyllis has a
mess up.
question.
I was just curious, or, you know, going back to the childcare policy opportunities, just, you know, I'm starting to try to get some of that workforce labor job scraping data, just flagging that to you all, so hopefully gonna have some of that to get to share. Just delving into that, wearing my other job hat around like women's health and economic opportunity outcomes. But I also saw, I think somebody who won their primary last night is like
Erin Force.
Erin Force, yeah, childcare business owner. It just seems like there might be a lot of like, I'm excited by the opportunities of people who have like their hearts close to some of that
Yes.
sector as well. That this could be like a good year. I don't, is there there is an interim study on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I know we've been looking at like TriShare and yeah,
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
I think that'd be exciting. And one of my other, I don't know, thoughts or inquiries, because this got surfaced with something I was in recently about what it looks like when it comes to like parental leave policies too, is also like, can you even look at a TriShare model for something like that as well? And some of that cost sharing maybe being politically palpable, or if we're able to pursue something like that in 1 year for childcare in the future, we could look at that for parental leave policies and like be able to recruit and retain more young families.
Yeah. I think anytime we can have a public-private partnership, you
Yeah.
know, the state responds to that, legislators
Yes.
respond to that.
Yeah, yeah. It just seems like a good opportunity area.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Counselor Devon.
Renee, I have a question for you. So on the lost business aspect where we have clients board preferred alternate destination 15 actual events, do we know why?
Oh, are you talking about on, right here at the top?
Yes.
So, a lot, yes, we do have all of that data in it. Most of it, I will tell you, 90% is walkability. They don't feel like we have walkability.
Okay.
And so they want a destination where they can see the convention
Uh-huh.
center from their hotel.
Yep.
And what about public transportation? Does that factor in as well?
Not as much.
Okay.
So the walkability I think that she's speaking to is when you have a large convention and you need to be in multiple convention hotels with like
Yeah.
a headquarters hotel, the delegates want to be able to walk between the different activities and all the different hotels, because you'll have the meeting space, right? We'll have an exhibit area, but then they'll also have a dinner, and they'll have these affinity groups, and if you can't walk between those, then you're basically locked out of those activities if you're not in the headquarters hotel. And so in Tulsa right now, you know, we've heard Renee talk about when these large delegations come to town, they're taking charter buses, which is a big expense for the organizers, you know, down out of our city, certainly, and maybe even out of the county, in order to keep everyone together. And so that's the walkability part. I don't think it's like there's not enough sidewalks in downtown. It's
Yeah, I love, because she has that, that real life
Connectivity.
experience.
Yeah,
Lack of
I
shade.
did meeting
Yeah.
planning, like
Yeah.
international meeting planning for 7 years,
Mhm.
headquartered here
Yeah.
in Tulsa, and we could not host our conventions in Tulsa.
So the
Yeah.
15 possibilities, would those all be centered downtown then? Is that what we're
Most of them
talking-
are,
okay.
yeah. They're all Arvest Convention Center, and they want more hotel rooms within that radius.
Gotcha.
Because we have the venues, we have BOK Center, we have Arvis, you could even do like a Drillers moment if it's the right time of year. I mean, you have those big gathering spaces, it's more like where are you gonna put your head in a bed and then have like the group dinners and the group breakfasts and the
Yeah.
breakout sessions and those things. You wanna be able to walk to all of those things in, you know, 10 or 15 minutes max,
Well, I
especially
know that
in the weather.
we have the BMX also, and that's a really great generator.
Yeah. But a lot of those people have to stay way far away
Yeah.
and be able to drive
They
in.
were as far as Edmond
Yeah.
when we recently hosted, we had the basketball tournament.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
we
that's right.
supplied guest tax to Edmond.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, I just want to surface this, and Renee and I have had conversations as we're thinking about the guest tax and just the different constituencies that we're wanting to get on board. Renee and I have talked about those local event planners that, have received, grant funds from, Visit Tulsa. And just, it's important that they understand, our desire to continue enabling them to host those events. I think part of how we've communicated so far is a lot of people from outside are going to come to Tulsa, but then there are folks, homegrown folks that host events here in the city, and they want to feel like they're being supported as well. So I think it's kind of both, and we are going to benefit from folks from across the country coming and planning, but there's benefit for you if you are, let's say, the Irish Fest, or who else does live event?
We talked about Oktoberfest,
Exactly
Irish
right.
Fest.
Black Wall
Black
Street,
Wall
the
Street.
Black Wall
Biker
Street,
Rally.
the rally.
We've got to just communicate robustly how this increase, benefits them as well. So,
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I know that
Yeah.
the Hmong Festival also brings in quite a bit of visitors, and that's on the east side, and as well as the Latin Hispanic community hosting their September 16 Independence Day. And so I think that's great, and I appreciate even the smaller events that even the smaller chambers could benefit as well from.
The main streets.
and that just even a portion of that revenue can be used in grants or in sponsorships that are going to, help supplement what our COVID dollars were, but now they've gone away.
Well, even local organizers like Oktoberfest or Juneteenth, they're some of the largest, they're locally organized, but they're some of the largest festivals in the country, if not the world.
Right.
So the more capacity we have is, or even like with Route 66, you had people from all over the country come to our very local, homegrown, organized event. And I think Tulsa, as you start to see us featured in Southern Mag and these national and international publications, more people are like wondering about us. And it might just start with a weekend visit, and then all of a sudden, I think a lot of people, we just had 5 weeks of artists from across the country in residence here, and there are people who have left and said, I'm still thinking about Tulsa, and I'm still thinking about, maybe I could be located in Tulsa. You all have an international airport. Okay, I could, get anywhere out of Tulsa. And so they're really starting to think about quality of life, and that's just 35 people that came for 5 weeks. So imagine if you get 20,000 people in for a long weekend, all of a sudden you start having these ideas, or people who come back every year for like the biker rally. Now they've had 2 or 3 experiences in Tulsa and start really having a different conversation about, are we visiting, or are we coming to stay, or?
Regular. But if those organizers can say, yes, I support this,
Yeah.
then, because there are many of the trusted voices that our residents look to, hey, is this going to be beneficial? So just making sure that they're on board with it would be important.
And I'm so glad that you invited me to have coffee and talk through that, because I think one of the things that the counselor brought up is that, ARPA dollars are gone.
Yep.
So now we need more of the pie to be able to sponsor these events. And having that additional revenue helps us give back in that way.
Yeah.
So that was a point that I think really resonated with him and with all of our.
And you didn't talk about it today, but maybe next time, or just in an email, to elevate kind of the investments you're making in local musicians, to go on tour and those things. It just, people really need to understand, especially as like Sobo District just got their designation. There's a lot of like independent music clubs out there.
And we just did music months in July.
Yeah, so, and I think also, now we have like a Grammy type connection that we didn't necessarily have in Oklahoma before, and those are things that also are gonna start bringing, benefit to the locals who are here for homegrown.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Anything like that, continue to bring to me, because we want to make sure
Yeah,
that
we
voice
just-
is heard.
We just gotta tell our story.
Mhm.
It's happening, just people don't know about it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, last thing I'll mention.
Yeah.
There's more, there's more.
Is I think if I heard the good news, everybody on Think of the Table is coming to Inner City Visit, so we're really excited about that. Great programming, gonna see a lot of catalytic projects, transportation, a lot of neat things that they've done in Kansas City. The one thing I would tell you is that we are gonna come in that morning if you can, and plan on doing that, because we're gonna have some optional activities in the afternoon. There's gonna be a downtown walking tour with their downtown organization.
This is the Monday.
This is on Monday,
Okay.
the first day, so be there by noon if you can. We'll start some optional activities at 1 o'clock. We'll have 2 or 3 examples of things you can do, so.
Then it goes through noonish, 11 o'clock or so on Wednesday.
That's right. I think we're done by 11 or 12 on Wednesday. Yeah.
Good.
It's gonna be a good agenda, so thank y'all. Thank y'all for your time today, really appreciate it.
Thank you, we
Sure,
usually
yeah,
rush you
thank
guys,
you.
so I'm glad we
That's
had.
great.
Yeah.
We appreciate- glad you set the time. Thank
Actually
you.
had some
Thank you, guys.
non-rush time, thank you, and just in time for lunch.
All right.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Thanks for not bringing Mike as well. Okay, any other business before us?
Love you, Mike.
Anybody have any other questions about anything else on the agenda? Okay, see ya.
All
We're adjourned.
right, we're back at 2.
Star is prepared.